Welcome to my channel where we cover the lore of Final Fantasy XIV. We cover the stories both big and small, the epic and the cute, the silly and the tragic. I hope you all enjoy the ride, and welcome to the Chronicler of Lore. When you and the Scions head into Dome Meg, the Fuath who claim they were willing to give you the Shell Crown put you through a whole lot of trouble as you make your way through their lands. But after you make it to the heart of their city and beat up their shape-changing leader, they finally do what they said and give you the crown. However, they changed the deal at the last minute and decide that since you were so entertaining, they want to keep you forever. So instead of letting you walk out with the crown, they bombard you with water and try to drown you. Fortunately for you, you received a blessing from the Kojin that allows you to breathe underwater, so instead of drowning, you wake up to see Ardbert floating in front of you. He lets you know that what you need to know about making deals with the Fuath is that you don't make deals with the Fuath. They were born from the souls of the drowned, and their plan was to turn you into one of them. Had you drowned, you would have woke up as a creepy frogman, which would have ruined my glamours. Fortunately, all of the Scions are alive and searching for you, so you head up to show them that you're alive and well, and to tell them what nearly happened to you. While the whole thing was unpleasant, they did at least give the crown to Eorzea, so you have two of the pieces you need to open the king's castle. But before you can head on to hunt down the next item, a pixie comes flying up to ask about a big mob of mortals who are making their way into Dome Meg. He wanted to know if they were your friends, or if they were people the pixies could play with. Alphino tells him to do as much damage as they can, but just to make sure he's not sentencing a group of harmless travelers to a horrible fate, he and Eorzea go to make sure the intruders are in fact a part of the Eomoran army, and since the pixies refuse to take one of them, both twins have to go. While they do that, Urianger, you, Thancred, and Minfilia head off to meet the next members of the Fae Folk, the Nu Mou. Unlike the pixies and the Fuath, the Nu Mou have lived in the area since before the flood, and they are very friendly toward people. They are where Urianger learned a lot about the Fae Folk and the First in general. When you arrive at the Nu Mou village, your reception is a lot different than you'd expect. Seeing so many of you at once is apparently a very joyous occasion, but despite that, when Urianger asks for the stone scepter, the third relic that you need, the elder is reluctant to hand it over. Too many of them died to seal away the king, and letting Titania out would either get them all killed or force them to leave their lands. Two things that they don't really want to do. However, after Urianger lets them know that you've already taken down a Light Warden, and after he uses a few of the words of power on them, those words being fetch and roll over, they decide to consider your request. Wish my dog would listen when I told him to do those things. When I tell him to roll over, he just drools. Maybe I should trade him in for a Nu Mou. Anyway, while the elders decide on whether or not to give you the scepter, you and the other Scions give the Nu Mou the opportunity to serve you by doing favors for them that lets them get their shops back open. I don't see how that's really serving you, but to each his own. While you perform some simple tasks, you notice Minfilia following you around. She obviously wants to talk about something and offers to help you with some of your work as an icebreaker. She lets you know that unlike the other Minfilias, she had been locked away and kept from learning how to fight, at least until Thancred took her and trained her. He let her know that if summoning you failed, then she would have to deal with the Light Wardens. She knows that's the only reason Thancred really keeps her around, because since she isn't the real Minfilia, he actually hates her. She knows something happened when they went to the place Minfilia Prime had stopped the flood, and she thinks the original had taken her body and said something to Thancred. Since then, he's been angry, and she thinks her being around him makes it worse. She wanted to find a way to help, which is why she came to find you. She knew that was what the real Minfilia had wanted, but now that you're there, she doesn't know what else she's supposed to do. I'm guessing it's the same thing Minfilia Prime used to do. A whole lot of nothing, followed by getting captured, rescued, then more nothing. While she's talking, shockwaves come from the castle and you both hear Titania complaining about how boring being imprisoned is and how he wants someone to come inside and play. Minfilia rushes off to tell Thancred what happened while you head back to the Nu Mou, only to find out that they heard Titania as well. Apparently Titania was so powerful that turning into a Sin Eater didn't remove all of his personality. and as a pixie, he loved to be free and play. That desire leaks out of the seal from time to time, and the Fae folk tend to try to ignore it, but it's becoming harder and harder to do that. That, among other things, makes the Nu Mou decide to give you the scepter. Only one item remains, so it's off to the Amaro you go. But before you can head off, the Nu Mou Elder lets you know that Titania is the title given to the one chosen to lead the Fae folk, and as part of the promotion, the other Fae give elemental blessings to boost the king's power. And that power was merged with the power of the Light Warden, making the king even stronger. So if you're scared, the Elder offers you a chance to stay with them, something that makes Fae appear since, once again, some Fae are trying to steal his sapling. After that, you head off to meet the Amaro and their large leader Seto, who after you ask him for the relic turns you down. After talking to a few of the other Amaro and petting them because they like that, you learn that Seto is refusing to give you the relic because the Amaro don't want to watch any other mortal get killed by the Sin Eaters. They always served mortals, and after a Ronkan mage gave them intelligence, they became even more loyal servants. However, after Ronka fell, most of the Amaro with the gift died out. Every now and again, one of them is born with this heightened intelligence, and if they live among people for long enough, they'll learn how to talk and such. Because of this relationship with mortals, Seto doesn't want to watch you die. However, your confidence reminds him of an old friend, so he decides to test you. First, he lures out a bunch of Sin Eaters that you easily deal with. Then he asks you to go get his medallion that he dropped in a lake during a fight with more of the monsters. Amaro aren't exactly aquatic creatures, and he'd asked the Fuath, but having dealt with them, you can understand why he doesn't want to. So you go and get it for him. Turns out the medallion was a gift from Ardbert from during the times when Seto had traveled around with the Warrior of Darkness. When Ardbert died, people blamed him and his friends for starting the flood. Seto tried to defend him, bringing up all the good things Ardbert and the others had done for the people, but they wouldn't listen. After a while, Seto couldn't take it anymore and he left. Ironically enough, your soul looks very similar to Ardbert's. Seto knows that you aren't him, but he can see souls, and your souls are nearly identical. Because of that, he decides to give you the final relic. Unfortunately, there's no time to celebrate. A pixie flies in to let you know that the twins and the other pixies were tormenting the Umorans and having a good time doing it, until an old man came through and evaded all of their traps. We already know that the old man is Ranjit, and now there's no choice but for the rest of the Scions to go help hold him off while you deal with the Light Warden. Minfilia wants to help since she's safe from the effects of the ether just like you are, or at least she should be, but Thancred doesn't think she's ready for that and she'll only get in your way. So they leave to hold off Ranjit, while you go to face off against the leader of the Pixies, Titania, alone. And that's where we're going to stop for today. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on the next part of the story.